Several of the engineering managers I've talked to have complained about how most of the CVs they receive are so bad they don't even consider inviting them to an interview. That's like really bad. But it also means that you can stand out with a decent CV if you just avoid a few mistakes. So today I'm gonna share 5 of the worst CV mistakes I've seen engineers make and how to prevent them. Mistake number 1, layout mistakes. This mistake is so easy to avoid and yet I see it so often. I guess it's because people think it doesn't matter, but it really makes you look like you lack attention to detail. If people can trust you to make your CV look structured, how can they trust you to later write a structured report, which you'll have to do as an engineer. Now, what are those layout mistakes? Either just a really bad layout or not sticking to one consistent layout. A bad layout means it's either too cluttered, too chaotic, too unprofessional, with lots of colors, or with lots of different font types and font sizes. This you can easily avoid by using a template. Pick one that fits the industry you're applying for. As engineers, we probably don't want anything too fancy, just something structured and clear. And an inconsistent layout means that things that should have the same style don't have the same style. Even if you're working with a template, you sometimes might have to change or add elements. So you want to pay extra attention that you're giving things the right size, font type, and color, and that you're not adding a double space somewhere accidentally between words. For example, all bullet points of one list should probably have the same font type, size, and color. And finally, always give your CV the first look test. Close your eyes, open them again, and look at your CV as if you're seeing it for the first time. Does anything look ugly? Is anything hard to read? Or does anything look out of place? And if you don't have an eye for aesthetics, and be honest with yourself here, then go to your perfectionist friend, you know who, send them your CV and ask for feedback. Mistake number 2, grammar and spelling mistakes. This easily happens if you're writing a CV that's not in your first language. Now, there's really no excuse for spelling mistakes because there are programs like Grammarly or the spelling checker in Word. Use them, but grammar mistakes can be a bit tricky because not all of them get picked up by those software programs, especially if you're writing bullet points, because the grammar there is sometimes a bit different than if you're writing normal full sentences. But there are tons of online articles on the grammar of bullet points. I highly recommend you use them to write your bullet points, and make sure that all of the bullet points of one list follow the same sentence structure. For example, if your first bullet point is represented the company on industrial fairs, then your second bullet point should probably not be I provided customer support, because you didn't use I in the first bullet point. So it should be provided customer support. That's what I mean by having the same structure. And if you know that your language skills aren't that good, please get a native speaker to check your CV for you. These might seem like small details, but again, if you don't get them right, it makes you look like you can't pay attention to details, which is a really important skill to have as an engineer. Mistake number 3, a super long CV with tons of irrelevant information. Your CV is not meant to list everything you ever did and ever will do. It's meant to show the hiring manager that you're a relevant candidate. So you don't want to make them search for that information as if they're searching for a needle in the haystack. So keep it brief and relevant. Now, people can never agree on exactly how many pages you should have. Some say you should never have more than 1 page. Others say that 1 to 2 pages is fine. My recommendation is that if you don't have any work experience other than some student jobs, I would stick to 1 page. If you have some or a lot of work experience, I think you can do up to 2 pages as long as you can fill the space with relevant experiences. But in any case, never do more than 2 pages. Now, I have seen people add a 3rd page as kind of a project portfolio page where they basically showcase a project that they've done in a lot of detail. But I've never seen this done well, unless it's a super impressive project that's relevant to the position you're applying to and a really high quality page explaining that project. I would skip it. Instead, just focus on getting your 1 to 2 pages of the CV right. So we've talked about how to keep it brief by sticking to 1 to 2 pages, but how do we keep it relevant? How do we pick the right things to put on those 1 to 2 pages? That's actually what the next 2 mistakes are about. Mistake number 4, listing soft skills without proof. Especially as an engineer, you're expected to be able to back up your statements. So don't put on your CV reliable, works well under pressure, great team player, intelligent, humble. No, not only does this not add any value to your CV, it takes away from the things that you can back up, because it makes your CV look like you just wrote down what you think they want to hear. Okay, so how do you add soft skills? Because companies often do list desired soft skills in the job posting. You show, don't tell. So you list experiences that show that you have those soft skills. Need to show leadership skills? Write down a leadership experience, like I led a team of 3 engineers to design a new packaging station, or I led a youth group for 2 years. Need to show that you're independent? Put I introduced a new documentation to my engineering department, or I wrote a bachelor thesis about CNC turning machines and found a method for faster tool changes. Something that you've achieved by yourself. So you're not telling them that you're independent, but you're showing them that you can get stuff done by yourself. That's independent. Mistake number 5, not adapting your CV to the position. Would you say the same thing when you go and introduce yourself to a new colleague in a work meeting, or when you go and introduce yourself to a new neighbor? No, right? You're still the same person, but the relevant information is different. The same thing is true for your CV. Depending on the company and position you're applying to, different information is relevant. If you just send the same CV to everyone, it's not really going to be relevant to anyone. Now, I understand why people do it, right? It takes a lot of time to adjust your CV every time you apply to a company, but it also takes time to find interesting positions to apply to. So you want to maximize your chances. Okay, so how do we do that? And what parts of your CV should you adjust? Obviously, don't change the facts, don't lie. This is not about making things up. This is about selecting the right things to put into focus. You want to make it easy for the hiring manager to see that you're a good fit. So read the job posting and make a list of everything they expect from you. Your experience, technical skills, and soft skills. And then you want to find experiences that prove that you fulfill that point. Is one of your previous jobs or studies really relevant to the position? Make them a bigger part of your CV and write more about them. Is a job or degree irrelevant? Either leave it out completely, or if it would lead to a gap in your timeline, or if you think it can still give you some plus points, just not as many as your top experience, then just make it a small item on your CV. Have you worked with the software they're asking for? Have you done a project that shows the soft skill they want? Have you done a university class that matches the job or industry well? Add it as a bullet point to that experience. Are they using any specific keywords in their job posting that you could use in your CV? You're really playing mix and match here. But as a reminder, you still need to make sure that you don't make any of the other CV mistakes I mentioned. So don't list soft skills without proof, even if they're listed in the job posting. Stick to 1 to 2 pages, check your grammar and spelling, and pick a clear and structured layout and stick to it consistently. If you do that, you should end up with a decent CV that already stands out compared to probably 90% of CVs. Do you have any other questions about making a CV as an engineer? And what are you struggling with in applying to jobs? Is it finding the right jobs to apply to, knowing what to put into your application, or mastering the interviews? Let me know and I'll try to talk about that in future videos.